Welcome back to the Travel Agency Near podcast. I am your host, Rachel Kay, and today is day 52. Why does a travel advisor need to back up all the things? So, we're going to talk about different things that you can back up. Now, yesterday's episode was kind of about ICs versus employees and how to prepare to start scaling your business when it starts growing, kind of prepare for it and have things set in place preemptively so that you aren't rushing to get it all done at the last second. Today's episode is about backing up, and there are going to be some mentions of legal requirements for backups. However, this is not legal advice, and I am not an attorney. Just a reminder, this is more for educational purposes. So, what the heck do you need to back up? Templates. All of your templates, even templates that you have purchased, and especially once you revise them to be aligned with your brand voice, whatever, you need to have different backup copies, not different, but backup copies of all of your templates, like email templates, proposal templates, all the things like that, any kind of social media templates that you might want to use. Let's say, I believe Mexperts have used to or may still currently have a social media calendar kind of a template. Okay. And let's say you're like, oh, I'm just going to use that. But then your membership lapses and you can't afford to renew, even though it's like the best value in the industry. What are we doing here, folks? But if you can't for some reason, you've just lost anything that Lori at Mexperts has created for you, and you're going to be kind of screwed there. So another reason, if you decide to switch CRMs, you're going to have to implement all of the workflows, automations, and everything that you've already set up in one CRM into a new CRM. And if you totally space on that, you could just be like, what the heck? Now I got to copy and paste all this over. Like, let's say you cancel your old CRM and you're like, got this new one without setting it up. First of all, don't do that. But if you do, and you don't have backups of your workflows, automations, templates, then it's going to cause a lot more headache and stress and work for you. Also, what if you lose access to your current CRM? Let's say you are hosted, or maybe you work for an agency owner as an independent contractor. And let's say hosting is like less likely of this happening. And I've had many advisors do one-on-one calls with me with the agency owner side where this can be a scenario. But if you violate the contract between you and the host agency for some reason, they may deny access to that CRM, and then you've lost all of your templates that you put in there. Okay. So that's why you should have a backup as an agency owner, like someone uh, contracted under an agency owner. I have heard of this happening. I've not heard of a host agency like completely locking people out, but it wouldn't put past any host, especially like newer hosts that maybe don't understand. Maybe, I don't know. But agency owners, there are quite a few of them out there, not me, but quite a few I have heard around the country in the United States specifically. Once they get a whiff that an independent contractor is like considering going out on their own, they lock that IC out of the CRM. And if that's the only place you have your workflows and automations, you lose that, okay? And it's really shady. It's not a good practice. I don't like it. There are people dealing with lawsuits because of their actions against ICs, and when you get mad at an IC for wanting to go out on their own, that really, really blurs the line between contractor and employee because you can't have that much control over them. If you are considering hiring people, you cannot have that much control over an IC as you can an employee. And I know a lot of people will be like, well, I'll just make them IC so I don't have to pay payroll taxes. But that doesn't mean you can still treat them like an employee if you're thinking about this. This is your plot. Like, stop. Let's consider the law because it will bite you in the butt eventually. All right, that kind of went off on a tangent. However, templates, super important to have a copy. I like to create all of my templated emails, all of my templates for my proposals and everything inside Google Drive before I even put them in the software I'm using. So I always have that copy and I can sit and revise it and tweak it. I can plug it into like Claude or whatever if I want AI to help me revise it, but I have it all. And I do this even with my business for where I mentor travel advisors and like help them with courses. Like everything I create is first created in a Google Doc and it's all separated out. So that's one way. We're going to talk about different ways of keeping your templates and other information that you need to back up. But keeping it in your emails drive is important. Like that's one place to put it. Your CRM is like up to date cloud storage as well. So you got two places where it's stored. And this can apply to all of the other topics I'm going to cover of what to back up. The next thing, client contact information. Again, switching hosts or leaving an agency owner and going out on your own, especially if they are the leads that you generated on your own. That's part of your business. And you should have it documented, their name, phone number, and email. You can have other notes like trips they've taken and preferences, so on and so forth like that. Do not try to transfer credit card information. That should all be encrypted, and there are banking regulations for digital payment processing for a reason. Just name, email, phone number, and then if you have other notes on them, like, oh, they really like, I don't know, Sandals Resorts or Carnival Cruise Lines, and they love this itinerary. Like, you want to have that information stored outside of the CRM because, again, if you're switching hosts, it'll already be done and you can upload it. If you are under an agency owner and you run into a weird situation where they don't act like a proper agency owner and lock you out, you've lost all your client contact info. You also want to have a record of trips and like sales for trips and commissions that can help you if you want to switch hosts and you need to have a book of business. So you'll have, here's how many people I've served. Here's the volume of business I've done year over year. And that can help you, especially if you start doing really, really well. With getting higher splits negotiated if you want to switch hosts. If you go out on your own, having that book of business, you can go to different suppliers and actually be able to negotiate better than the 8 to 10% they're going to start you out with. If you aren't producing any sales, then every supplier, when you go out on your own, is going to be like, we don't trust you to produce anything, so why are we going to pay you more? Okay. But if you've done like $1 million plus in sales revenue, like bookings, that gives you a little bit more leverage when you switch. If you decide to switch or if you decide to go out on your own. All right. Any contracts signed, you're going to want to keep any contracts around just in case. And that's usually going to be like service agreements, room block contracts, possibly. You should be okay there, but just in case, just keep it just in case. Any social media templates, even ones that you may have purchased or have had access to via a supplier, you want to back it up. So I don't know if any suppliers do this anymore, but like back in 2020 and 2021, they were all like, we've got done for you social media. And I was like, oh, this is great. Because I had just started on my own and left my old agency and joined a host. So I was like, good, because I was not posting on social media before. I was just doing like bridal shows and things like that. And I was like, great, I have all these social media templates. I can tweak it a little bit, but if I don't and I'm out of ideas because I didn't have a marketing strategy or a content strategy back then. So I was like, okay. So it must have been 2020. It's like, awesome. I don't know if they still have them, but they might. I haven't looked. But I believe Mexpert still does a social media content calendar, and you want to have that backed up on the off chance your card is bad and your card is declined or you run out of funds, even though it's like the best value in the travel industry. No big deal. But if for some reason you don't have Mexperts anymore, but you've gotten used to using some of the templates that are created on the social media calendars, then you don't have anything backed up. Like if you back up everything and have your content calendar, right? If you have that, then you at least have some inspiration drawn. But if you just log into like Mexperts and download the image and copy the copy and the hashtags or whatever is in there and paste it in and schedule it out, you're going to be in a really, really stuck if you were to lose access. What if their website goes down? Or what if they're in the middle of transitioning to another server or something? Like you never know. Okay. So back it up. Back it up. Okay. Why? I've already explained why. But also, it's going to save you so much time and it creates a seamless experience for you and your clients if you can easily back up your templates and you have access to them all the time on multiple platforms. It's going to make your life easier or methods of storage, not just platforms. So, backup that is typically recommended, daily backup, that's going to be your cloud storage. That's going to be your CRM. That's like daily backup, right? There's also monthly, you can run monthly reports. You can do a monthly update of your client list, whatever, if you want to back up that information. And then could do quarterly, you could do annually as well. Obviously, with taxes, you want to do all that, and keep those records. Maybe not always with your client contact info if you're already doing it monthly. So there is also the 3-2-1 rule when it comes to backing up information in your small business travel agency. Okay. You want to have 3 copies. Okay. You want them to be at least 2 types of media. So I mentioned earlier your CRM and Google Drive. Those are similar types of media. They're cloud storage. So what would be a third option? Well, you could print, but then you might end up with so much paper and ink money, or you can put it all on a thumb drive and then have another copy. Alternatively, if you have the RAM on your desktop or laptop, I would prefer a thumb drive so that way you have to have the thumb drive to get that information rather than everything on your desktop. And one of them should be cloud-based storage, okay? Which we've already talked. So that's 3-2-1. 3 copies, 2 methods of storage. One of them should be cloud-based. Okay. Let me turn the page here because I got my notebook. Don't worry, I'll talk again about the importance of writing everything down. Monthly, when you're like backing up stuff on a monthly basis, it's more going to be like you could do reports, like booking reports and things, and just keep it in like a folder for like 2024, 2025, 2026, right? And if you haven't been doing this, don't make yourself stop everything now and do it. Just feel like, okay, I need to add in 15 minutes sometime this week to get started on this process. Because if you're like, I've got to get it all done now, guess what? Now you're pushing off marketing, serving your clients, building up your network and your relationships. You're pushing all that off to organize this stuff. So don't just get into the habit of doing it more regularly, up to date information, and then 15 minutes a week, move the older stuff over. Or if you have a little more time, you can. How long do you keep this stuff? Good question. I'm not an attorney. This is not legal advice. Check with your state laws. Check with your province laws. I don't know. 7 years is a good rule of thumb. And you're like, 7 years? That's why I'm like, don't print it. Because if you do more than like 5 trips a year, that's going to be a lot of files. And we're mostly all home based. and that's a lot of storage, okay? That's like fill up your dining room or living room with a bunch of file cabinets. Nightmare. But most statutes of limitations in general are roughly 7 years. There are different requirements. I pulled up this old Q&A article from Travel Weekly just to verify, and it was their attorney kind of mentioning some of these things. Um, the IRS could ask for receipts like 3 or 4 years back, depending on what state you live in, is the statute of limitations. And ARC requires 39 months, which is aligned with the IRS. But I would say just in case 7 years, because 7 years is about the statute of limitations, but double check all that. Once again, I am not an attorney and this is not legal advice. This is just like information. You do what you want to do. You do you. Yeah. So make sure you have all those things backed up and accessible in a different place. This will also help you on the off chance you're in a major crisis. Like, let's say you're totally comatose in the middle of updating your workflows, and then something happens and you're in a coma in the hospital. If you have backup of these templates that you have started working on and are creating, and you have notes in there or you have a notebook of like what needs to happen, then your emergency person, like in your family, hopefully, can look at everything and be like, okay, I've got it. And then I need to put this here. And also, previous episodes we talked about SOPs. They can kind of do some things too and communicate with other travel advisor colleagues who may offer to help you keep your business afloat at least, right? And then if you come out of the coma in 6 months, even if no templates have been implemented or anything, it's all there for you to start. Which you're like, why are you talking about being in a coma? But I'm just saying, like, you don't know what's going to happen. You can't be certain everything's going to be hunky dory. Back it up. All right. Thanks for listening today. If you like this episode, please subscribe and I'll see you tomorrow.